the generic geriatric cyclist. Episode 10. 10 questions.
Hello and welcome back. If you're here looking for the 10th episode of the Generic Geriatric Cyclist, you're in the right place. So welcome and thanks for watching. I'm sugarcoating the name of this episode by calling it 10 questions. It's really 10 things that I left out of the first 9 episodes. Things that I wanted to talk about or thought were useful to talk about and just didn't do it. So here goes. Mea culpa. Mea culpa.
Why don't you mention heart rate training in your videos?
Before power meters came along, training by heart rate was the best thing we had going for us. But I never used one. In those days, I wasn't training per se. I was just riding my bike. The knock on heart rate training is that your heart rate is variable. One day you wake up and it's 48 and the next day you wake up and it's 68. But that's not really why I ever used one. For me, it's just one more thing I'd have to remember to do or to put on before a ride just to make that process longer than it needed to be.
Why not train by perceived exertion?
A few times I've tried to do sweet spot intervals on the trainer without using the erg mode. So I would try to get on the target just through my normal riding. Couldn't do it. My sweet spot would be in like 180, 190, and I would be going anywhere from 150 to 250. Just not good at it at all. So I would just rather have an objective way of calculating where I am and just staying in there.
Why don't you just buy a power meter?
Well, the short answer is it's just too much money. It's about $1,000 or so for a power meter, and then another $300 to $500 for a Garmin to hook it up to so that you can read the power. It's just too much money. But having said that, once they come up with one that's cheap and reliable, I'll be the first in line.
How about training in zones other than sweet spot?
So, training in other zones. At this point in the season, all I basically do is endurance rides and a little bit of sweet spot. As I get closer to events that I'm going to need higher levels of power to get through, then I'll be doing more interval training, and I will share that with you. That's the high intensity interval training that everybody talks about.
Why not do your intervals on the road?
Even if I had a power meter, which I don't, I live in the suburbs of New York City. It's very crowded with traffic. It's very hard to get a stretch of road that lasts for more than a quarter of a mile without a junction, without a stoplight, without a stop sign, whatever, where traffic has to cross and you have to slow down. So that's not possible for me unless I drive at least an hour away from my home.
Please be more specific about your dietary plan.
I plead guilty here. Very guilty. In the video I did about cycling and weight loss, I said that I plan to lose 30 pounds, but all I said was I'll do it with a combination of sensible eating and riding the bike. Well, that doesn't really tell you very much. In all honesty, the video was getting too long and I just didn't feel I had time to go into that. On the video about weight loss and exercise, I did make mention of the fact that I'm a prodigious snack eater, especially in the evening. As in the past, when I've cut out snacks entirely, don't eat anything after supper, I will just lose weight. It doesn't take a whole lot more than that. Also, as I've mentioned before, I'm a type 2 diabetic, and lowering my carb intake would be the best thing both for my weight loss and to continue to stabilize my diabetes.
Did you leave out any planned events?
Yes, I left out one of the most important rides of my cycling season, the Orange County Cycling Club's Country Roads Classic.
The Country Roads ride is in September. the perfect time of the year in my section of the country. The metric century, my chosen ride, travels over mostly rural roads that are only about 50 miles northwest of New York City. It's far from a flat ride, but it traverses the Black Dirt region, a table flat former lake bed with rich black soil. Here's some of it.
I'm not sure if I specifically said that I was going to do an FTP test every month, but I know that that's what I planned to do. Well, then reality struck. It seems that once I started going, my progress seemed so slow that it didn't seem like I should be bothering to do that, because I would never be able to evaluate the progress. I also faced a challenge when I started riding outside. I forgot that every year when I transitioned from the trainer to outdoors, for the first 10, 15 rides, I feel like I've just gone over Niagara Falls in a barrel. Supporting muscles that I never even knew I had, ache in my lower back is way out of shape and needs a lot more flexibility and strength. At this stage, my FTP will probably go down before it goes up.
Why are you doing this series of videos?
I've watched hundreds of YouTube cycling videos over the years, even before the lockdown. But once that came, I spent hours every day in front of YouTube. After a while, I thought, hey, I think I might want to try my hand at this. I'm just about a compulsive explainer, so YouTube, especially about cycling, gave me a chance to explain things and act out my compulsions. I also thought being on YouTube would impress my grandchildren, but they're probably not all that impressed. I'm certainly not doing this to become a YouTube star. I'm going after one of the smallest demographics imaginable on YouTube. Older people who are cyclists, older people who are cyclists and watch YouTube. That narrows it down quite a bit. And then add older people who are cyclists on YouTube who find my videos, and then older people on YouTube who find my videos and find them interesting. Well, so a few dozen people. Hi.
This question was in a very small person's handwriting. Is Professor Neutron really you, Pop-Pop?
Professor Neutron is in the adjoining room, and so now I'll take you in there to see him, and you'll know that that's not me. So here I am, I'll be going into the other room, and we'll see. We'll knock on the door. I don't want... Dr. Neutron, I don't want to disturb you, but may I come in? Hello, and welcome. Although I was busy doing a scientific experiment and nominating myself for the Nobel Prize, but I am definitely not my cousin, the generic geriatric cyclist. I'm Professor Dr. Isaac Neutron. Totally different person. So, especially if you've gotten this far, I want to say goodbye and thanks for watching. I hope to see you back for episode 11, where I'll be discussing my favorite YouTube channels for cycling. See you then.